I just wanted to thank all of you for welcoming me into the Invictus family.
The Invictus funds were directed towards private jets, 5-star hotels, and transportation for Harry and Meghan.
Two effing grifters.
Somehow this balloons from an event that cost $1 million the first year they did it to $63 million now. Harry has ballooned the budget from $1 million. It cost $1 million to do it with 400 people. It's now $63 million with an extra 140 people. What the
Two relentless self-promoters. That's the impression many critics have walked away with. It's the kind of situation that leaves people genuinely surprised. While veterans and competitors were concentrating on training, arranging their travel, and covering many of their own expenses, Prince Harry and Meghan appeared to be enjoying a much more comfortable experience. They were welcomed with standing ovations, glowing introductions, and constant public attention wherever they went. It looked like a major celebrity event, but behind all the excitement, many people began asking questions about the finances. Reports suggested that around $62 million had been raised for the event, with a significant portion coming from the Canadian and British Columbian governments, meaning taxpayer funding played a major role. Because of that, some observers wondered how those resources were being allocated and whether more funding could also support important veteran services, including rehabilitation programs and specialized medical equipment.
But people are a little upset about where the money is going because right now there's been a 63% drop in actual grants to wounded warriors, despite the fact that they have more money in their bank than ever from carryover and in Vancouver.
Comparison, the US Warrior Games, a similar competition for wounded American service members, runs on roughly $2 million a year. Germany's Invictus-style competition costs about $200,000 and involves half as many participants. The public's taxes footed a portion of the bill.
Those questions have continued to fuel debate. At the same time, Harry has reportedly been working to build support for the 2027 Games in Birmingham, seeking additional sponsors to help close a substantial funding gap. With millions already pledged by private backers but much more still needed alongside government contributions, many commentators describe the challenge as a complicated fundraising effort rather than a straightforward charitable campaign. The Invictus Games have long been presented as an inspiring initiative dedicated to supporting wounded veterans through sport, recovery, and community. Few people question the importance of that mission. However, discussions about funding have become increasingly prominent as the organization continues to grow. Veteran support extends far beyond athletic competition, covering physical recovery, mental well-being, and long-term assistance. For that reason, officials have announced additional years of funding intended to provide stability and ensure essential services remain available. The goal is to create consistent support while giving veterans access to programs that continue well beyond the competitions themselves. Even so, online discussion quickly intensified.
Prince Harry seemed to have left Scott Snow behind. Competed in 2023 Invictus in Dusseldorf. He was injured. He was in a wheelchair that did not have restraint straps, so basically defective hardware. It drives me crazy. I mean, Prince Harry founded these games. He's the public face of Invictus. And has anyone from his office bothered to reach out to you? Has anyone bothered to, from Invictus, after that initial meeting, bothered to reach out and say, hey, let's help out here?
I never heard from anybody, to be honest with you.
Across social media, frustrated reactions spread rapidly, with many users expressing disbelief over various funding reports and asking whether enough attention was being paid to the athletes themselves. Before long, the conversation expanded beyond budgets and financial figures into a much broader debate about the public image surrounding the Games. One recurring topic centered on Meghan Markle and claims from some commentators that her appearances often become the biggest story of the event. According to those critics, media coverage frequently shifts away from the veterans and toward royal headlines whenever she attends, creating an entirely different public conversation than the one many supporters believe the games deserve. Rather than focusing primarily on the competitors and their remarkable journeys, much of the online conversation often revolves around Meghan's clothing, public appearances, and interactions with others. This pattern has become especially noticeable during major Invictus events, where social media can quickly fill with discussions about her style instead of the athlete's achievements. The Games were created to celebrate wounded veterans, their resilience, and their determination to overcome enormous challenges.
200,000 pounds go toward the vets. 200,000 pounds out of 63 million.
Oh, the Invictus Games. It's great. It does all this. And then, you start looking into it and you're like, hey, what the heck is going on here? Those 535 competitors had to pay their own way. They had to pay their own housing for the games. They had to pay for their own equipment. And Harry and Meghan got a really nice vacation out of it with lots of adorational speeches and clapping and crowds gathered for them.
Yet every high-profile appearance seems to revive the same debate once again. Many people continue asking whether the public conversation reflects the mission of Invictus itself, or whether attention has gradually become centered on the royal figures associated with the event. One topic that repeatedly resurfaces involves Meghan's wardrobe, with countless online discussions examining every outfit she wears, instead of highlighting the inspiring stories unfolding throughout the competition. From casual viewers to dedicated online followers, people often examine every detail of Meghan's appearance, discussing designers, estimated prices, and even the smallest fashion choices. As a result, conversations that could have focused on the veterans sometimes evolve into lengthy discussions about clothing and personal style instead. Some commentators have suggested that her public image has become closely connected with fashion branding, leading to speculation that the attention surrounding her outfits naturally benefits the brands involved. Others argue that this is largely driven by media coverage rather than by Meghan herself. Clothing worn during Invictus appearances frequently appears in fashion articles and retail features identifying similar styles, adding even more attention to those moments.
They brought in, it was around 62 million.
Not bad.
50% of that was from the government of Canada and BC, meaning that was taxpayers. And when you're dealing with taxpayer monies, people are kind of like, hey, why are we not buying prosthetics?
Right.
Said that the $4 million in sponsorships, that the sponsors, the corporate donors, aren't named. So I'm wondering, because people will rag on the corporate sponsors? Do they have people giving them money who say, don't use my name? Is that possible?
That has led many observers to ask whether the focus on fashion is simply a reflection of public curiosity, or whether news outlets are choosing to emphasize those stories over the central purpose of the Games. Whatever the explanation may be, the same cycle seems to repeat itself with nearly every appearance. Critics argue that once Meghan arrives, cameras and headlines often concentrate on her clothing and public image, while supporters maintain that the Games' mission remains the true priority, despite the surrounding media attention. Whether that shift happens because of media coverage or simply because the public is fascinated by well-known figures remains a topic of constant debate. One thing is clear, though. Meghan's fashion choices and the attention they receive have become a recurring part of the wider conversation surrounding the Sussexes and the Invictus Games. At the same time, another major question continues to dominate discussions. Does Prince Harry still represent the heart of Invictus? With ongoing conversations about funding, financial oversight, and the event's future direction, opinions remain divided. Before reaching any conclusions, it's worth looking at how everything began. When the Invictus Games first launched, few would dispute that Harry played a central role in bringing the idea to life. His public profile, military connections, and commitment to supporting wounded veterans helped place the Games on the international stage. During those early years, the focus was largely on hope, recovery, and unity as the competition steadily gained worldwide recognition. As the years passed, What began as a deeply personal initiative grew into a major international event. Some commentators now believe the Invictus Games have expanded well beyond their original founder. They point to growing government support, major corporate partnerships, and international organizers as signs that the event has developed into a global institution capable of operating on its own. From that perspective, Harry's role remains valuable because of the attention he brings.
An American for-profit company called June's LLC, with no description of purpose, received nearly £30,000 in 2023 and nothing in 2024. And the same filing contains two different company registration numbers, one on the cover page, another on the balance sheet.
This is basically a PR play for Harry because he's about to go to Birmingham right now, drum up some business, because right now he only has $4 million in unnamed corporate sponsors for the 2027 games. And he needs a lot more. He needs about at least 25 million more to match the government's 29 million pounds.
But the day-to-day success of the Games may no longer depend entirely on his involvement. Others strongly disagree. They argue that Harry continues to represent the spirit of Invictus, serving as the emotional connection between the organization and the veterans it was created to support. In their view, his presence remains an important part of the identity that has defined the Games from the very beginning. That difference of opinion continues to fuel discussion. As the Invictus Games become larger and more established, people naturally begin asking whether every successful organization eventually grows beyond its founder. Has Invictus reached that stage? Or does its original leadership still play an essential role in preserving its purpose? There is no simple answer, which is exactly why this topic continues generating so much conversation among supporters, critics, and longtime followers of the event. Another question regularly raised is whether the Invictus Games remain focused entirely on honoring veterans, or whether they have gradually become something much broader. Over the past several years, media attention surrounding the Games has increased significantly. Celebrity appearances, extensive coverage, and continued interest in Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have brought the event to audiences far beyond the sporting world. As a result, headlines sometimes spend as much time discussing high-profile guests as they do highlighting the competitors themselves. For some observers, that represents a natural consequence of modern media. Others believe it risks drawing attention away from the athletes whose determination and resilience remain the true foundation of the Games. Viewed from that perspective, Invictus has evolved into much more than an international sporting competition. It now combines inspiring personal stories, worldwide media coverage, and public engagement on a much larger scale.
Don't you give him credit for the Invictus Games. The royal family started it with money William got from a lawsuit that William won. He donated money to start the Invictus Games. That's what people said in the comments. I don't know. Don't get mad at me if I'm wrong about that. And then they turned it over to Harry to give him something to do.
It is such an honor to be here tonight, celebrating all of you and supporting my husband in the Invictus Games, which he founded.
Many supporters acknowledge that visibility plays an important role in attracting sponsors, raising awareness, and keeping the organization growing. At the same time, they also believe maintaining focus on the veterans should always remain the highest priority, regardless of how much attention the public figures receive. Today, every appearance, photograph, interview, and public interaction quickly becomes part of a much larger online conversation. Within minutes, discussions spread across news outlets and social media, influencing how millions of people view the Invictus Games. That reality has brought renewed attention to a familiar question. Has the event managed to preserve the mission it was founded on, or has the surrounding publicity become an equally significant part of its identity? As preparations continue for the next Games, these same conversations are once again gaining momentum, with people revisiting topics ranging from funding and media attention to the overall direction of the organization. Online communities have also kept these discussions alive. Social media platforms and public forums continue revisiting earlier controversies, including a petition calling for changes to the leadership associated with the Games.
a growing scandal involving Prince Harry and his last remaining genuine charity project, the Invictus Games. But is it really a charity project at all?
The games were born more than a decade ago from a promise that I made to myself. A promise to uphold my obligation, a sacred obligation after my own decade and privilege of military service, to do whatever I could to help my fellow brothers and sisters heal, and to champion everything that we stand for.
The petition has circulated for quite some time and continues generating strong reactions from both supporters and critics. Some believe it reflects concerns that deserve discussion, while others see it as another example of ongoing online debate with limited practical impact. Regardless of where people stand, it demonstrates that interest in the future of Invictus remains as strong as ever. As the next Invictus Games approach, another familiar question has returned to the spotlight. Should Meghan Markle attend this year's event? Supporters argue that her attendance is entirely appropriate because she has consistently supported Prince Harry and publicly expressed encouragement for veterans connected to Invictus. From their perspective, her presence reflects how the Games have evolved over time while continuing to attract global attention. Others hold a different opinion, believing the focus should remain almost entirely on the competitors themselves. That difference in perspective continues to spark discussion whenever a new Invictus event draws near, ensuring the conversation surrounding the Games remains just as active as the competition itself.
And how they're playing with the veteran money, because they're getting a lot of funding from countries and places to get this, what would typically be veteran support income, that then goes to putting on the Invictus Games. Now, again, I'm not trying to be, belittling what the Invictus Games is trying to do, but I am asking the question of, is it really the best use of veteran funding? Why can't Harry get his own funding? Why is he relying on all these countries to do it?
Not everyone views Meghan's involvement in the same way, and that's exactly why the conversation surrounding the Invictus Games continues to grow with every new event. Critics argue that whenever she attends alongside Prince Harry, media attention naturally shifts toward the couple rather than remaining focused on the athletes. They believe the headlines often become centered on royal appearances, fashion, body language, and public interactions, instead of the remarkable achievements of the veterans competing on the field. Supporters, however, see a completely different picture. They argue that high-profile attention helps introduce the Invictus Games to audiences that otherwise may never have heard about the event, ultimately bringing greater awareness to the veterans and the organization's mission. That difference in perspective has become one of the defining conversations surrounding Invictus, and it resurfaces almost every time the Games return. Throughout this discussion, one important point is easy to overlook. The athletes remain the foundation of everything Invictus stands for. Every competitor arrives carrying a personal story filled with resilience, determination, rehabilitation, and the decision to keep moving forward, despite enormous challenges. Those stories were the reason the Games were created in the first place. Regardless of the headlines, sponsorship announcements, or celebrity appearances.
So we know he is going to Birmingham this summer to prep for the Games next year. And one of the reasons he's going is because he needs money. He needs sponsors. There's only 11 sponsors lined up so far, and they are all unnamed. Now, if you look at Vancouver, there were 44 sponsors, including Boeing.
Supporters continually remind people that the veterans deserve to remain the central focus. That is also why debates about media attention have become so significant. When photographs, fashion articles, or royal commentary dominate the news cycle, many observers naturally wonder whether enough attention is still being given to the competitors themselves. Others respond by pointing out that modern media operates this way with nearly every major public event. Well-known personalities almost always attract cameras, whether they intend to or not. According to that view, The additional publicity is simply an unavoidable part of today's media landscape, rather than something unique to Invictus. Even so, the discussion refuses to disappear. Every major appearance seems to restart the same questions all over again. Is the spotlight helping the games reach a larger audience, or is it making the athletes compete with entirely different headlines? Has the balance shifted too far towards celebrity coverage, or is the overall mission still reaching millions because recognizable public figures continue supporting it?
3, 2, 1, go. We go. Feet up, feet up, feet up.
So, and then they have these quotes from Harry. Time magazine does, Invictus gives them their identity back. What? What? And then he says it saves lives?
Well, she's big on saying that. I mean, look at all the lives Meghan saved by buying jeans.
Oh, God.
There are passionate arguments on both sides, and neither perspective appears to be fading anytime soon. The conversation surrounding Prince Harry follows a similar pattern. Since the earliest days of Invictus, his name has been closely connected with the games. Many people continue viewing him as the public face of the organization because he helped bring the original vision to life. His military background and commitment to veterans gave the project immediate credibility, while his international profile introduced the games to audiences across the world. For countless supporters, those contributions remain impossible to separate from the identity of Invictus itself. Others believe the organization has now reached an entirely different stage. They point to expanding international partnerships, growing government support, corporate sponsors, organizing committees, and thousands of volunteers working behind the scenes. From that perspective, Invictus has matured into a global institution that no longer depends entirely on one individual, regardless of how influential that person may be. Harry still plays an important role, they argue, but the games now have a foundation capable of carrying the mission forward for years to come. Neither viewpoint has completely won the argument, and perhaps that is exactly why interest remains so strong.
You know, my jaw dropped this week when Time magazine announced that Prince Harry was one of its Time 100 most influential leaders in sport, which I thought was hilarious.
They are so aware of how the cameras are on them at virtually every moment. They can only play the game for so long, especially Harry. But we also saw those moments when Meghan was literally yelling at him when there was the possibility of the cameras being on. So you can only imagine what it's like when they are in private.
Every new announcement, every upcoming competition, and every public appearance seems to reignite the same discussion. Some people continue emphasizing the importance of Harry's leadership and emotional connection to veterans. Others focus more on the organization's long-term stability and believe the mission itself has become larger than any single public figure. Both perspectives continue shaping how people view the future of Invictus. The financial conversations have added another layer to the debate. Questions about sponsorships, government support, fundraising efforts, and overall transparency have encouraged many people to pay closer attention to how the games continue developing. For some observers, these are simply normal discussions that naturally accompany any large international organization handling significant budgets. Others believe the increased attention reflects growing public interest in understanding how major charitable initiatives continue expanding over time.
Tom Bauer pointed out in his book during an absurd wheelchair basketball game, one team didn't even need wheelchairs, while the other team did. It was America versus Nigeria. Nigeria needed the wheelchairs, and after the game, the Americans all stood up, got out of their wheelchairs, and walked off. It's absurd. But also, there was no one in attendance.
I am truly so grateful to be a part of this with each and every one of you. I've witnessed the most amazing support networks that surround competitors, and I've had the privilege.
Regardless of individual opinions, financial discussions have clearly become part of the broader conversation surrounding the games. The role of the media cannot be ignored either. Today's news cycle moves faster than ever before. Within minutes of any public appearance, photographs begin circulating worldwide, videos spread across multiple platforms, and countless opinions emerge online. Long before the competitions have even concluded, millions of people are already discussing what they have seen. In that environment, every gesture, every interview, and every public interaction becomes part of a much larger narrative. That reality creates a challenge faced by many internationally recognized organizations. The mission may remain exactly the same, but public conversations often develop in unexpected directions.
She was absolutely loving all of the attention, but the problem is no one wanted her there.
Yeah, no one wanted her there. Reports were coming out even before the games that they did not want her there because usually the attention is taken away from, the veteran.
And out of these Invictus Games because she's turned them into a laughingstock internationally.
A lot of people did not want her to be there.
Instead of focusing exclusively on athletic achievement, discussions may expand into fashion, celebrity culture, branding, public perception, leadership, sponsorship, or media strategy. Whether that shift is positive or negative depends entirely on who you ask. Some supporters argue that, without widespread media coverage, the Invictus Games would struggle to attract the same level of international awareness. Greater visibility can encourage new sponsors, inspire future competitors, and introduce more people to the stories of wounded veterans rebuilding their lives through sport. From that perspective, publicity serves an important purpose because it keeps the organization visible on the global stage. Critics remain unconvinced.
Meghan is there to soak up the limelight. There was a lot of tension from what I heard behind the scenes that it would have been best had Harry just kept her at home. And, Meghan's going to do what she's going to do. She used it for her moment, for her new social media comeback. And that's what it is about for her. And people can see through that.
They've made less money than they claim. And this is propaganda from the relentless and ruthless Sussex.
They argue that increased publicity only has value if the veterans remain at the center of every conversation. Whenever headlines drift elsewhere, they worry the original purpose becomes harder to recognize. Their concern is not necessarily about any individual attending the event, but about maintaining the balance between public interest and the athletes whose determination created the reputation of Invictus in the first place. That balance will likely continue being tested as future games approach. Every host city brings new opportunities, new audiences, and renewed international attention. Organizers continue working to grow the event while preserving the values that inspired its creation. At the same time, public interest surrounding Prince Harry and Meghan ensures that discussions beyond the sporting competition are unlikely to disappear completely. As preparations continue for future Invictus Games, familiar questions are already returning. Will media attention once again focus heavily on the Sussexes? Will coverage primarily highlight the athletes?
Also, it doesn't pay for the veterans' transportation or insure them. I mean, what is this paying for?
The insurance thing is insane.
It is.
Insurance.
Lots of private jets, lots of camera crews, lots of security, a documentary, beautiful fashion, of course, from Meghan, 5-star hotels they stay in. I wonder, somebody is doing it. There's an audit being done on the $63 million right now. I think this is going to turn out very, very badly.
Meghan Markle has been forced to leave the Invictus Games, axed by Prince Harry after another PR disaster.
Will fundraising efforts continue expanding? Can organizers maintain the original spirit while adapting to a rapidly changing media environment? Those questions remain unanswered, and they will almost certainly continue generating discussion well into the future. One thing nearly everyone can agree on is the importance of the veterans themselves. Their courage, perseverance, and determination remain the reason millions of people discovered Invictus in the first place. Every athlete represents a journey that extends far beyond medals or competition. The Games celebrate recovery, resilience, teamwork, and the determination to move forward despite life's greatest obstacles. That mission has remained remarkably consistent since the beginning, regardless of how public conversations have evolved around it. Perhaps that explains why Invictus continues attracting so much attention year after year. It represents much more than a sporting competition.
Prince Harry's Invictus game, you follow the royal family very, very closely. What's the latest there?
He's having a lot of issues. So I did write a piece this week. It was an exclusive about how there are funding issues.
And the performance, PD, on the moments when they know they're in the spotlight, the performance is so over the top.
I don't think a lot of veterans actually are devastated. The reality is, if you go deeper into Invictus, a lot of veterans are actually more upset, asking where all the money actually goes to.
$63 million Invictus Games spend into the mainstream media.
It combines powerful personal stories, international cooperation, public support, and global visibility in a way that very few events manage to achieve. Those qualities naturally encourage discussion, especially when well-known public figures remain closely connected with the organization. Whether someone views that attention as helpful or distracting largely depends on their own perspective. Some believe the visibility strengthens the games. Others believe it occasionally competes with the message organizers hope to deliver. Both viewpoints continue existing side by side, making every new Invictus event a fresh opportunity for the debate to begin again.
Invictus Games for Wounded Warriors, which sounds like the Wounded Warrior Games. And people think, oh, this must be great. And a lot of people are unclear how to read a tax return or to check stats. And so I think it was just very easy to say, oh, the Invictus Games, it's great. It does all this. And then, you know, you start looking into it and you're like, hey, what the heck is going on here? You know, those 535 competitors had to pay their own way. They had to pay their own housing for the games. They had to pay for their own equipment.
As another chapter approaches, the biggest question may not be whether people will continue discussing Invictus. They almost certainly will. The real question is what those conversations will focus on. Will the headlines celebrate the athletes above everything else? Will discussions center on leadership, sponsorships, media coverage, and public appearances? Or will the event successfully balance all of those elements while keeping veterans at the heart of every story? Only time will provide those answers, but one thing is certain: interest in the future of the Invictus Games remains incredibly strong. Every announcement, every public appearance, and every upcoming competition continues drawing worldwide attention, proving just how influential the event has become since its earliest days. Now I'd really like to hear what you think. After everything we've covered throughout this video, where do you stand? Do you believe the Invictus Games are still fully centered on the mission that inspired them from the beginning? Do you think the increasing media attention has helped the organization reach more people, or has it changed the public conversation in unexpected ways?
Harry and Meghan came in for 10 minutes for an adoring love shot, and of course, Meghan kissed Harry. And it looked like it was good and full. It wasn't. So I think the public interest is waning. And also in this time of economic disparity, people really want to know where their money is going to. And there are lots of other places that actually support veterans, may give them prosthetics if they need, may build a wheelchair ramp at their home, which is necessary, may do things that really help people as opposed to helping Harry's ego.
There are thoughtful arguments on every side, and that's exactly what makes this such an interesting topic to discuss. Share your opinion in the comments below and let everyone know your perspective. Whether you agree or disagree with the points covered in this video, respectful discussion always makes these conversations more interesting. I'd also love to hear what topics you'd like explored next. Your suggestions help shape future videos, and many of the best ideas come directly from viewers who continue following these stories closely. If you enjoyed this video and found the discussion interesting, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more videos, and share this one with anyone who enjoys following royal news, public debates, and major stories surrounding the Invictus Games. Every like, every comment, and every share helps more people discover the channel, and your support truly means a lot. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. I really appreciate you spending your time here, and I look forward to reading your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, take care, keep the conversation going, and I'll see you in the next video.